The Hunger Games. You wake up in the morning to the distant hum of traffic, yet you know today is different, because today your 12-year-old child could be selected for the Hunger Games. That's life in Panem, a world built not on protection, but on spectacle and fear. Panem is a dystopian nation that rose from the ashes of a collapsed America. At its center is the capital, a gleaming city of luxury and excess, surrounded by 12 impoverished districts. Each district is forced to supply resources and obedience in exchange for survival. Every year, as punishment for a failed rebellion, each district must offer up one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 18 to fight to the death in a televised event, the Hunger Games. It's not just tradition, it's psychological warfare dressed up as entertainment. For the average citizen, life is bleak and tightly controlled. You work brutal hours, earn next to nothing, and watch your children grow up under constant threat of being chosen. Food is scarce, medicine is a luxury. Peacekeepers roam the streets, ready to punish even the smallest acts of defiance. Speaking out, gathering in protest, or even mourning too publicly can get you beaten, imprisoned, or worse. And the games? They're not just deadly, they're designed to humiliate. Tributes are paraded like celebrities, dressed in costumes and sent into arenas crafted to torture them, psychologically and physically. The victor doesn't win freedom, they become a tool of the capital, paraded as a symbol of its mercy. For everyone else, it's trauma wrapped in forced celebration. Families are expected to applaud while their children are murdered for ratings. One of the cruelest systems is the tesserae, extra food in exchange for extra entries into the reaping. Desperate families must gamble their children's lives for a bag of grain. The poor pay in blood while the capital sips wine and places bets. Hope isn't real, it's weaponized. Living in Panem means surviving under a regime that uses fear as currency and children as spectacle. You don't dream of change. You dream of getting through one more day without losing someone you love. Doom. It starts like any other day in a high-tech research facility, until the alarms suddenly scream. One moment you're sipping coffee, the next you're drenched in red emergency lights as reality itself cracks open. This is life in the Doom universe, where a normal morning can collapse into a blood-soaked nightmare in seconds. This universe is set in a future where scientific ambition unlocked something unspeakable. In pursuit of a new energy source, a megacorporation experiments with portals to another dimension, only to find it's hell itself. The result is instant catastrophe. Demonic hordes pour through gateways on Mars and beyond, overrunning bases and entire cities. What started as a research breakthrough becomes an apocalyptic invasion that eventually reaches Earth. For a regular person, there's no such thing as safety or routine anymore. As soon as the invasion begins, you see those around you, friends, coworkers, torn apart or possessed into mindless husks. Entire cities fall in days as the demons spread across the globe, and within the first month, most of humanity is wiped out. Billions gone. Every system you rely on fails immediately. Power, communications, government, all of it. You're left in a world where every distant scream or monstrous roar means you could be next. And the demons themselves? They aren't just monsters lurking in the dark, they are everywhere. Towering hell beasts and swarms of lesser fiends roam the streets of once great cities, turning familiar neighborhoods into charnel houses. The very environment changes in their wake. The air reeks of sulfur and ash, and buildings become overgrown with living, cancerous hellflesh. Even the sky is scarred. The moon was partially shattered during the invasion. Its broken pieces now orbit Earth like a grisly halo. Every day is a waking nightmare where the world around you literally transforms into hell. One of the cruelest ironies is that humans opened the gates of hell themselves. In their quest for limitless energy, the UAC tapped straight into hell. They promised limitless power and instead unleashed limitless horror. The nightmare you're living isn't some random invasion from beyond. It's a catastrophe born of human greed and hubris. Living in the Doom universe means every day is spent on the brink of annihilation. You don't dream of salvation or a savior. You only hope to survive one more night without being torn apart by the monsters from hell. The Dark Souls world. Imagine waking up in a world already decaying, where every sunrise feels like a curse rather than a blessing. That's the life of a regular person in the Dark Souls universe. An existence trapped in cyclical decay and relentless horror. This is a realm where the first flame once burned bright, birthing life and light, but now flickers mid-collapse. Humans are marked by the dark sign, cursed with undeath that forces them to resurrect endlessly, until their sanity withers entirely. The kingdoms that once thrived, Lordran, Drangleich, now lie in ruin, overrun by hollowed warriors, undead knights, and monstrous abominations. Lordran, for instance, was once populated with scholars and thriving communities, now deserted and lost to time. Living here means knowing death isn't escape but delay. You revive over and over, losing grip on who you are with each rebirth. Safety doesn't exist. The line between living and dying blurs as familiar streets turn into lairs for drakes, giants, and cursed abominations. Places like Blighttown are literal toxin swamps that strip you of health. Just walking through them is a fight. Even grand cities like Anor Londo, once stunning bastions of divine power, are now ghostly corridors haunted by former knights, monsters dressed in dead grandeur. On the darkest days, you might glimpse other undead, silhouettes of hollowed people wandering, leaving scratch marks and cryptic messages in the ground. You're never truly alone, yet never truly safe. Each corner holds the threat of instant death, from hidden traps to towering bosses who see you as nothing more than another soul to devour. The most terrifying part? You are the forgotten. Humanity is fading, the gods are hollow, and the world inexorably heads toward nothingness unless someone, anyone, can rekindle the flame or let it die. No one promises rescue. You are trapped in a story where survival may mean letting darkness swallow humanity entirely. If there is any hope, it lies in forging your own path, to persevere, to relight systems of light, or to burn out trying. But in this universe, every breath you take is a rebellion against oblivion itself, and the only certainty is that something will consume you eventually. Monster Hunter. You live in a land of breathtaking beauty, towering mountains, dense jungles, rolling plains, and glittering oceans, but every horizon hides something that could kill you in an instant. That's the reality of the Monster Hunter universe, where nature is not just untamed, it's armed to the teeth and always hungry. This is a world where humanity survives only in heavily fortified settlements, and everything beyond the safety of those walls belongs to creatures far stronger, faster, and deadlier than you. Dragons that breathe fire hot enough to melt stone. Serpentine leviathans that churn the seas into whirlpools. Predators the size of buildings that can smell you from hundreds of meters away. And these aren't mindless beasts, they're intelligent, territorial, and will hunt you simply for crossing into their domain. For a regular citizen, daily life is a constant gamble. Farmers risk being trampled by stampeding Aptonoth or Kestodon just trying to work their fields. Fishermen can disappear without a trace when a Lagiacrus or Gobul rises from the depth. Even something as routine as gathering herbs in the nearby forest could end with a Nargacuga silently stalking you from the treetops, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Hunters, the elite few trained to face these creatures, are the only reason civilization hasn't been wiped out entirely, but their victories are always temporary. You can slay a Rathalos, but another will claim its territory before long, and sometimes the replacement is far worse. What makes this universe especially terrifying is how its ecosystem itself is built for chaos. Every creature plays a role in a brutal food chain, and humans are far from the top. The arrival of an elder dragon is enough to change the environment on a massive scale. Kushala Dara can summon endless storms. Teostra's mere presence scorches entire regions into lifeless deserts, and a Velkhana can freeze rivers solid in minutes. Villages and outposts have been erased overnight by migrating monsters, leaving only scorched earth or ice-covered ruins behind. When something like a Fatalis appears, there's no fight, only desperate evacuation and the hope that it moves on before it notices you. Living in the Monster Hunter universe means accepting that safety is always temporary. The walls of your settlement are strong, but never impenetrable. The wilderness isn't a place you visit for adventure. It's a place that swallows the unprepared whole. And every distant roar echoing through the mountains might be the sound of your world ending, carried on the wind from a predator so powerful that even the most seasoned hunters fear to speak its name. Trench Crusade. You wake before dawn, trench boots echoing in the mud, praying that the demons don't breach your defenses before breakfast. In the Trench Crusade universe, every day is war. And if you're not a soldier, then you're just the next sacrifice in a seemingly endless crusade. This is a realm where, during the First Crusade in 1099, a group of corrupted Templars uncovered a forbidden demonic artifact beneath Jerusalem's temples and opened a gateway to hell. That act, known as the First Heresy, turned Earth into a battlefield. And 800 years later, in 1914, the war between heaven and hell still rages across scarred no-man's lands, draped with mud, barbed wire, and trenches. Humanity is split. Devout forces called the Faithful, Christians, Muslims, even some pagans under banners like the Principality of New Antioch or the Iron Sultanate, fight desperately to hold the line against the relentless heretic legions and the courtly demons of the seven-headed serpent. For a regular person, living here is a trial by mud and fire. Your home might sit miles from the front line, but there's no safe zone for civilians. Demon raids, plague brought by the Black Grail, and the ever-shifting no-man's land make daily survival a lottery. Fields you once farmed now bear only shell craters and husks, poisoned by infernal magic. Refugee camps are constantly bombarded by supernatural foes, turning civilians into combatants, or worse, into fodder for unholy rituals. Where once faith was comforting, now your religion demands you march into hell's face. Soldiers called trench pilgrims, devoted civilians with fragile hearts, are sent to the front lines believing martyrdom will save the world, only to vanish without a trace. And if you aren't drafted, you still live under rule by fear and propaganda, watched by church observers who rotate between granting sanctuary and demanding sacrifices. One of the most gruesome horrors of this universe is the weapons themselves. Heretic forces wield ammunition laced with enuncia, reversed words of creation that tear apart flesh and bone, not with shrapnel, but by unraveling divine life itself. A slow, agonizing dissolution of being. Witnessing such a slow erasure is enough to break anyone's sanity. Living in the Trench Crusade universe means waking each day knowing death doesn't always come from the skies or the trenches. It can come from the words themselves, from faith twisted into destruction, or from your own salvation weaponized against you. The Halo universe. You awaken to the distant hum of alarms, your breath caught in your throat as the sky cracks open with violet fire. You live in the Halo universe where humanity once spread across countless worlds. But now every horizon trembles with dread. The Covenant is coming again, and this time they won't stop. In this universe, humanity's reach out to the stars is shadowed by relentless war. Centuries of colonization, of lush alien forests and sprawling cities, are reduced to ruin when the Covenant unleashes genocidal fury, glassing entire planets into shimmering wastelands. Billions of human lives vanish in that searing light, victims of a holy war waged in the name of alien gods you can't even plead to. You're not a hero in powered armor, you're a civilian. You work your shift, send a message to your family, try to sleep without the weight of tomorrow crushing you. But the sirens always come first. Maybe evacuation orders filter through official broadcasts, but fear always arrives sooner. By the time you hear Covenant at the gate, you can already see the warships blotting out the stars, and you know it's too late. From childhood, you've heard the ancient legends, the Forerunners, the godlike architects who built the Halo rings. But seeing one is different. A massive structure curling through the void, capable of extinguishing every living thing in the galaxy with a single pulse. Once you believed the stories of humanity's grand destiny. Now, standing in its shadow, you feel more like prey than a chosen heir. There are Spartans, super soldiers engineered to fight battles. Civilians like you could never survive. Maybe they save your world. Maybe your ship slips away into faster-than-light darkness before the invasion reaches your door. But even survival feels hollow when you know the Covenant will return, and sooner or later there will be nowhere left to run. And then there's the other threat, the one spoken of only in whispers. The Flood. An ancient parasite that infects every living thing it touches, twisting them into mindless, ravenous forms. Against them, there is no surrender, no peace, only the nightmare of losing yourself and becoming part of the swarm. You tell yourself not to think about it, not to imagine the day when the sky turns alien purple again. But in the Halo universe, extinction is not a possibility. It's a constant presence. Every day is lived on borrowed time, and when the enemy comes, survival won't feel like a victory. Game of Thrones. You wake with a start as bitter wind howls through the thin walls of your hovel, the horizon draped in ash and sorrow. You live in Westeros, where shadows breathe and every lord's whim can turn neighbor into butcher. Here, life is cheap, and safety is an illusion. In this unforgiving land, seasons are cruel beyond reason. Years of summer lull the careless into comfort, only for winters to descend without mercy, stretching for decades. Winter does not simply bring snow, it brings famine, sickness, and cold so deep it feels like it gnaws at the bone. Peasants break their backs in the fields, knowing the next frost could kill a year's worth of work in a single night. And when the weather doesn't kill you, your fellow man might. Law exists only where the strong can enforce it, and justice is as rare as mercy. You aren't a noble, not even a skilled craftsman. Your life is a cycle of hunger, fear, and labor. You rise before dawn, eat stale bread if you're lucky, and pray that the sound of distant horns does not mean war has found you. But in Westeros, war always finds you eventually. Soldiers don't care if you swore allegiance. They take what they want. Your food, your home, sometimes your life. Bandits haunt the roads. Plague sweeps through villages, and the very people sworn to protect you are often the ones you fear most. Overhead, whispers travel faster than ravens. Whispers of dragons circling the skies, of an army of the dead marching from the frozen north. To the lords and ladies, these are pieces in a game. To you, they are the coming storms that no wall of stone can truly keep out. You watch noble houses rise and fall, entire bloodlines snuffed out overnight, and realize that if the highborn are not safe, the small folk stand no chance at all. In King's Landing, the stench of the streets is thick enough to choke on, the gutters running with waste and spilled wine. The wealthy feast on roast boar and sweetmeats while the poor scavenge for scraps in alleys crawling with rats. In the north, the cold is not just a season, it's a predator, patient and merciless. In the Riverlands, battles turn fields into graveyards, and in the Reach, even in times of plenty, you know how quickly the tide can turn. Living in Westeros means knowing that every moment of peace is borrowed, every sunrise uncertain. You are not a hero here, only a survivor, and even that is never guaranteed. When winter finally comes for you, it will not ask your name. It will simply take. Minecraft. You wake to the gentle chirp of blocky birds and an open sky made of rigid cubes. The grass is bright, the air is still, and somewhere in the distance a cow moos with mechanical regularity. At first it almost feels peaceful, simple, even harmless. But in the Minecraft universe, peace is a fragile illusion waiting to snap. Everything here is built from perfect squares, a child's toy box come to life. You can build homes, plant crops, and sculpt the land into whatever you imagine. But the world does not care about your creations. Its days are short, and when the sun dips below the horizon, that warm, harmless landscape transforms into a hunting ground. From the shadows they emerge, shambling zombies groaning through the dark, skeletons creaking as they draw their bows, spiders with eyes that glint red in the moonlight. And then there are the creepers, silent, patient, drifting toward you without a sound until the moment they release that deadly hiss. A warning you hear just before everything you've built is erased in a flash of green and fire. You aren't a god here. You're just another thing trying to survive. Every step carries risk. Dig too deep and you might break into a cavern, its walls glittering with minerals, and crawling with things that want you dead. One wrong swing of your pickaxe, and the stone beneath your feet collapses into a pit of lava. The land gives you what you need, but it also takes without remorse. And there's no true safety. You can build a fortress of stone and iron, but sooner or later something will find a way in. Monsters don't just live in the night. They lurk in the earth, waiting beneath your feet, or gather at your door in the morning mist. Even daylight feels like a borrowed reprieve. Some whisper about a pale figure with white eyes, watching from the edge of loaded land. Whether it's just a story or something real, the thought alone is enough to make you glance over your shoulder more than once. In this world, paranoia isn't weakness, it's survival. The cruelest part? Even death offers no escape. You respawn, but stripped of everything you fought for, your tools, your armor, your food. The world carries on as if you never existed, and you start again from nothing, knowing it will only happen again. At first it sounds absurd. Tiny blocky monsters, a pixelated world. But the longer you think about it, the more it becomes a waking nightmare. No matter how well you prepare, no matter how many walls you build, the world is endless, the threats are constant, and survival is only ever temporary.